Michelle, do you want me to put the language up?
And we're live.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's the Senate Transportation Committee. We're going to continue our discussion on S-280, the miscellaneous DMV bill. We were almost wrapped up yesterday, but we have a couple more items. So where do we leave off and what do we want to do next?
I left off having finished talking about all of the bill except for the effective dates, which weren't that interesting. And I know you wanted to hear it from the agency.
Okay.
So,
We're on section 15, is that it? No? I got it marked off in section 15. Maybe.
I think we're on the climate language.
The goals stuff.
Yeah, the goals. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Page 23.
so in this section, I think that what we're seeing is, I'm just trying to get the language up on the screen for my.
The committee prefer it to be like that, or do you want to look at it on the side by side, so it matches what some of you have in front of you? I'll do the side by side.
And what I'm seeing on the screen is everybody else, not. See?
You might be too, so you're not on the Zoom. Oh, it might be a 30-second lag.
Here we go. Thank you. All right. So, as Anthea pointed out yesterday, this amends a section of statute which directs the agency's policy. And what we're seeing here is just that the the climate action plan is being added as a reference point to those policies that we will incorporate into our mission and our activities of our strategic plan. And the inclusion of the comprehensive or the climate action plan is consistent with all of the other referenced plans, including the comprehensive energy plan. I think where this language becomes less palatable to the agency is with regards to the extent to which there is directives related to responsibilities we already have under the Global Warming Solutions Act as one of the participating entities of state government who must comply with the Global Warming Solutions Act, and becomes very prescriptive with regards to how we will conduct our activities relative to meeting the Global Warming Solutions Act requirements. So transportation is being called out differently than other parts of state government relative to specifically how they will advance the activities which may result in emissions reductions. So that seems kind of beyond the bounds of the legislative branch and getting into sort of the administrative branch of government in terms of how we go about doing the mission you have already told us we must do. Additionally, it gets very prescriptive as we go further in the bill relative to the modeling that we would be required to undertake. And we have numerous modeling efforts underway or planned to go forward under the climate action planning process. And those are being funded and probably will be more substantially funded by the Agency of Transportation due to the fact that we now have guidance from the federal carbon reduction program, which will sort of specifies that we can use those funds for the modeling, which will help us determine where we get the most bang for the buck in terms of transportation investments relative to GHG reductions. So I guess the agency would prefer not to have this level of prescriptivity in statute. because it feels as though it's an overreach in terms of prescribing how we go about doing this versus letting us better, understand through the analysis and research what the appropriate direction is going to be. And this provides an overemphasis on the climate elements of our mission compared to safety and maintenance of the system and other elements which we are articulated to be responsible for in statute.
How did this come about in the house? Anybody know? If the chair and the vice chair aren't too excited about it, how did it come about with this language?
I think there are members who are very engaged with climate work, and so there have been a number of proposals relative to this type of thing, and we actually spent a fair amount of time working with, in this case, Representative Stebbins and Representative White on trying to constrain this language. But in the end, we didn't get to a firm agreement on this, and the committee voted to include it in the bill.
Okay. Questions? Committee?
I wondered if any of the language in 15 and 16, I get your general point, I can understand that, but there's a couple just like word changes where we said CEP, but when that was written, we didn't have the CAP, so
I
are
think
those okay?
Yeah, those they, there are sections where, if it just were and the recommendations of the CAP, and didn't go on to include an extensive articulation of climate versus other things, that would be fine.
So like in D, that's on that, like after that, so section B where it just says change oversight committee to the council, because that change oversight committee doesn't exist.
I don't know. I think this, also is a bit of an overreach. I mean, we are going to coordinate things with the council that we must coordinate with them on, but
Okay.
I don't want to have to coordinate with the council on our entire program.
What about in section 16, the bottom of A? That part that just said, and the climate action plan.
I'm sorry, my screen obviously is not up to. Okay, I'm sorry. Tell me again which.
So section 16, page to 24.
Page 24. Okay.
Well, there's the changes to taking out a hyphen, which is very controversial, but then at the bottom, and and the climate action plan.
That would be fine. Yeah. That discrete reference to another statewide planning requirement is fine. I think it's when we get into the qualifiers that go on after that, like for instance, in section C4,
right,
achieving the recommendations of the CEP and the CAP, that is fine.
C4. Oh, right. Okay.
Next page, yeah.
But not 5.
5, I think, is,
It's too much. And that's the same with that language.
and then all of F, the emissions modeling needs to come out.
What about on section 15, top of page 23, A2, the bottom of that paragraph? This is the policy, statement of policy. It's adding the recommendations of the CAP in there.
And once again, that's very similar to what we have with the comprehensive energy plan, and that would be fine.
Okay, so there's only three things where it'd be fine. This A, I don't know if you're following this, in section 15, the bottom of A2, that language. The section 16, the language, bottom of the page 24, that just says and the climate action plan. And then the end of the CAP added the C4 on page 25.
Yeah, I was just double checking.
I don't know where you go about the end resiliency and one.
I was just gonna note, did we talk about section 15.
So 3 would be stricken, 4 would be stricken.
And then when you get into B, you have 1, 2,
For B, would you want it to stay the Vermont Agency for Coordinated Planning and Education efforts with those of the Vermont Climate Change Oversight Committee that doesn't exist? Or would you want?
I would, strike the one that doesn't exist, but I would not, I don't want to sort of change it to the Climate Council.
What was I don't remember what the Vermont Climate Change Oversight Committee was. We don't-
I know that previously this year I did look into it and asked about whether or not it had ever been officially disbanded by the Sunset Advisory Committee that sort of looks at boards that are no longer. I think it was just created in session law, which is interesting that it was then added to codified law requiring them to coordinate with them, the Agency of Transportation to coordinate with. So would we need to read the agency shall coordinate planning and education efforts with those of local and regional planning entities?
I think that would make sense because these are the things that we are due, and they do encompass, when you get to B2, support employer-led or local or regional government-led conservation, efficiency, rideshare bike programs, et cetera. I think that encompasses the efficiency of climate. And then I think 1 on page 24 in the bottom of the top box where number 1 says develop or incorporate designs that provide integrated, safe, and efficient transportation that are consistent with the recommendations of the CEP and the CAP.
What about that as amended? I'm assuming you're okay with that?
That's
a
okay.
technical change.
Yeah.
And then it's C1 off of page 25 where it added and resiliency to that transportation program goal.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
But for instance, just beyond that, number 5
Yeah.
should be eliminated.
5 would strike
All of that.
all of
23?
You want me to try to say what I think you're saying? So section 15, 16, anything where it's just a technical correction here. Okay. First change, which is on page 23, actually subsection A2, where it says the recommendations of the CAP, you're okay with that?
Yes.
We're striking 3 and 4 of that section on page 23.
Gratuitous language.
And then subsection B, where it just mentions the council, we're changing that we're basically striking the change oversight committee and the council. So you're just coordinating with the regional planners.
Local and regional.
Local and regional. Technical changes on the top of page 24, technical change we're doing, and then we're doing the other change of C1, where it says and the CAP. You're okay with that?
Yep.
And then in section 16, you're okay with getting rid of the hyphen and the addition of the CAP at the bottom of subsection A.
You don't want to fight over the hyphen?
I have to make a concession somewhere.
You're okay with adding the word resiliency on C1.
Yes.
You're okay with the addition of and the CAP to 4. We're going to strike 5, all of section F.
Yeah.
Goes on to page 24.
Oh, emission modeling?
All the emission modeling, the whole F, which is 1, 2, or 1, 2, and all that.
As I was pointing out before you came, Senator Kitchell, emissions modeling is something that is occurring within the construct of the climate action planning process. And we have a significant role in that. And it seemed an overreach to prescribe it in statute as to how we go about doing it and what we report on. And so, the goal of all state agencies is to comply with the Global Warming Solutions Act And that is where those activities are encompassed within.
So it's not needed.
Correct. From our perspective.
Want me to go to the amendment? I can be back probably like.
So that's, all of that is out.
Jane, if you want to go back to page 18, and we can just give you a fast, the first part of the bill is all fine. 18 is when we start adding the house,
Roads, wait,
I say, we're fine on page 16, to the bottom of page 16, and then 17, and then we start on page 19 and start taking it out.
well,
Am I correct there?
section 12, let me ask, is that what we were talking about, section 12?
Section 12 is taken out, yeah.
Which starts on page 18, goes through 19, page 19,
Yeah.
and the top of 20.
Yeah, page 21 is out, page, section 14 is out.
Section 13's out, section 14's out.
And 15 is in. Except for number
Section
5.
15 to 16 are mostly out, or leaving those.
Your committee wants another one.
So what we're gonna do is, just what, concur with further amendment? Is that what we're doing here?
Anthea's gone.
She's gonna, yeah, she's gonna just go get it right for us, and then the way that it brings back, we should be able to, send back to them and say, this is our corrections, our amendments, right?
Yeah, I think we would, some of them we're concurring with, some of the changes, but we're further,
Well, we're concurring with all the first sections.
yeah,
It's
so,
only the last section,
yeah,
correct?
but that's the further
Yes,
amendment.
that's right.
We're concurring with what they concurred with us, and then we're changing some of their amendments.
Right.
Gosh. Well, it shouldn't be too hard to report. We're deleting.
Unfortunately, nothing about vessels.
Our crows,
Yeah,
our crows, thank God, let's not have any crows in here, unfortunately. Jeez, oh, crowies.
I got another one today. I was like,
Oh,
we already
did-
did it.
I
They're
did
still
too,
sending me.
I did too.
Oh, they're very smart.
The crow lobby, they're so smart, they have lobbyists.
Yeah.
How about that?
I'm gonna come back to the next slide with a crow.
I had, planted a section of lima beans, they went right down the whole.
Oh, yeah.
There was
Okay.
nothing left, just nothing. And,
Really?
oh, yeah,
They call it seed,
yeah, they just pull up the young plants,
Yeah.
pull them right up.
but now we're gonna allow them to continue that, right?
Well, you could shoot them if
You
you're
could shoot
protecting your property.
Yeah,
Oh, they're gonna eat them.
No, eat crow.
Yeah.
I've eaten crow before, it goes down hard.
I remember Howard Dean said, I'm pulling the feathers out of my teeth now.
Put a little garlic and pepper with it, it
I
goes.
told him, this is
better.
a loser, it's a loser. We went forward, we lost. He said, I'm eating crow, pulling the feathers out.
I throw,
Did you ever see Howard Dean?
I throw old, he was on TV last night,
What was it?
because he's against, Musk buying the company, he's gonna drop his account.
Oh, Twitter?
Yeah. And,
Oh, he's gonna stop tweeting?
yeah, he couldn't, he's all done with that, because he doesn't like what Musk is doing or something, but it's the first time I had seen him, I hadn't heard from him for,
Is
For
his
some-
wife retired now from her practice?
I don't know. Well, I said he was talking once in a while, but I haven't contacted him. I wanna, this summer, if we can get the train open, I wanna make sure he's there for that event.
Yeah.
That was a big,
Are we still online or?
Yeah,
yeah.
we're just waiting for him to get it.
We're live. We got the live button.
Oh, yeah, live.
There.
You are still live, and I can take you off if you'd like.